Thank you for tuning in to AP on Play. I'm Anjali Prasad, and we are super lucky this morning to have Representative Donni Steele joining us. That is Michigan State Representative Donni Steele. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate your time.
Donni, I'm so excited to have you. Primarily because I'm very limited in my knowledge of Michigan state government. So I want to get to that in a few minutes, but let us start by hearing a little bit about your background.
Well, thank you. So, and most people don't know about how the government at the state level is broken down. So it's always good to have these interviews, and maybe the public can be more informed about how it works. But of course, my name is Donni Steele. I am a freshman as a state legislator for the Michigan House of Representatives. I've been there a year and 10 months, and I am running for re-election, and the election is in November. It's a 2-year cycle, and so we already had the primary, and then I'll be on the general election with the presidents on the same ballot. So I am a lifelong resident of Orion Township, which actually is part of the district in Bloomfield Township, and I actually went to Lake Orion High School, and I married somebody I met in high school in Oxford, which is our neighboring town. I've been married 33 years. I have 2 boys. One just graduated with his master's degree and is in New York City. I hate when they leave the state.
I do too.
And the other one is at Northern Michigan, and he is going to go into his junior year. And I used to be a realtor. I was a realtor, broker, small business owner for 20 years. I started that at the family business, and then I branched off and ended up owning my own business with a group of women, and I did that for 20 years. I was the managing broker, and then I went home to stay with the kids, and I got involved in my community advocacy, which was building safety paths in Orion Township, because I wanted my kids to be able to ride their bicycles to school, and so I got involved, and the next thing you know is I got more involved as being a trustee, and then I became the treasurer, and then I ran for state house, and here I am talking to you today.
So your election for state house representative was 2022, I guess?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
And it's a 2-year term?
Yes.
And let's start by explaining what your district is, because I looked at a map, and I think we might have a map to throw up there. It's a really disjointed, isn't it?
It's eclectic. I mean, it's
eclectic. Yes.
It's
yes.
disjointed. And there was a redistricting. It was people, not politicians, and it was on the ballot a couple years ago of this. They had to redistrict along with the 2020 census. So that took place at the same time, and then you had this, what was presumed to be an independent group, take the map of Michigan and divide it up into new districts, to where before it was always done by the majority party in the in government at the state house. And so this was the independent district, so there were so many Republicans, and there were so many independents, and there were so many Democrats. But when it ended up happening is they took on something that they never had any knowledge of before. And not to say that they did good or did bad, but sometimes I think that the map ended up looking like somebody that was new to the project.
It's a very wacky map. So they did this in 2020?
It was being worked on in 2020, and I think it was rolled out when I didn't know what my district was.
Yeah.
So I think it was the first of 2022, the year that I ran, that it landed. I think it was January, and then they said, these are the new maps. So you wanted to get your name out because you decided that you were going to run, but you didn't know where you had to get your name out to. And so when they threw Bloomfield in, because this district, notoriously where I lived, was North Oakland County. I mean, Brandon, Oakland Township, Addison
Right.
Township. I mean, where I spent most of my time was in North Oakland County. And then they literally took part of North Oakland County and they glued a the heart of South Oakland County together, and they made this district. So
Wow.
I'm learning a lot about Bloomfield, and it's a great community, a lot of great businesses, a lot of great people. I couldn't be happier with the diversity of the district. So it's like it pulled me out of my North Oakland County and put me into an environment that has, I think, made me a better state representative, because I am learning and getting to know as many people as I can to bring it to Lansing, to have the voice in Lansing of the people here.
Tell us about your campaign. What was that like? What did you do to get your name out? How much did it cost? What worked for you? What didn't work for you?
Well, I think that's a very good question, because I had already campaigned. So as a trustee for Orion Township is an elected position. So that was my first campaign. And then when I ran as treasurer, I ran against the incumbent because I believed that he wasn't doing a good job. And I thought, well, put my money where my mouth is. So I ran against the incumbent, which at that time I probably knocked, I don't know, 5,000 or 6,000 doors in Orion Township. Wow. And put out the signs, and you do the interviews, and you try to do news releases and everything that you can do, going to local organizations to get your name out. And I won, and it was like by 250 votes. It was by a slim margin, and that was done in the primary. And then I ran for re-election for a treasurer, and I won. And then I ran for state house representative. So Orion, my name was pretty solid. But
it's a very cool first name, I have to say.
Thank you.
Donnie's a pretty cool name.
Thanks. With a name like Angelina, you got one too. So I had to find my way around Bloomfield and Bloomfield Hills, and I did the same thing. Going to business owners and knocking on doors and putting my name out. I think I did a couple. Here, I don't know if I did an interview here, but I did have like some social media that would go out too, that they would that they would air for me here and in Orion, and Facebook, and I don't mean to ramble so much, but when you have a caucus, like either Republicans or Democrats, they will support you as a candidate. So I raised my own money, close to, I don't know, $60,000-$70,000 as my fundraising, and I would do all the mailing and the cards and the knocking on doors, and you put the flyers in people's door jam, and then the Republican Party also supported me, and I think it was actually, it's crazy, but was like $1 million race. I mean, isn't that crazy?
That's
So kind of shows you how much money filters through the state of Michigan to make sure that there's a balance of government and that it's done appropriately. And so you have these really contentious seats, where I'm like in the middle of a 50-50 district, what they call 50 Republican, 50 Democrat. And actually it's a third Republican, third Democrat, and third independent. So I like to take your hats off. There's a lot of independent thinkers in Bloomfield and in Orion that want to pick the candidate by what they have to offer.
Right.
And so I'm thankful for that, because those are the people that I can say, I've done a good job, I have a good background, I'm your most experienced candidate, and please pick me. So I'm very confident doing that.
Well, let's talk about your platform, some of the things you got done or like to see get done in Lansing, and let's educate the audience on what you stand for.
Well, something that you had asked is that the State House is broken up in 110 different districts, and 110, and it's roughly 90,000 people per district. Okay. So our area is a bit smaller, but you can see like the UP, there's only like maybe two and a half representatives, because there's some that filter down into the lower peninsula as well. And so you can see that our district is, kind of tight and more suburban than like something like in the UP. So for
Right.
90,000. And Bloomfield Township, and I don't know if you know, has 5 different state house representatives. So
No, I didn't know that.
they
That's kind of a lot.
yeah, that's a lot because what they did is they cut it up, and so it's the whole idea of the redistricting was to keep communities of like kind in the same bucket. Well, when you split up a township 5 different ways, they're not really keeping.
Right.
And Bloomfield was always notoriously apart with Birmingham because it was the bedroom community for Birmingham, and if you did where do you do your shopping?
Right, Birmingham.
Birmingham.
Right.
And so Birmingham has a different state representative completely. So,
wow.
so communities of like kind, and like I was from Oxford and I lived in Orion. So Orion and Oxford were always like together,
Yes.
we share highways, we share safety paths, we share trails. And so that would have been like a natural, but they didn't. So
Do you still have Oxford or no?
No.
You lost Oxford
Yeah,
in the redistricting
right.
and gained to Bloomfield.
and you guys lost Birmingham and
yes.
brought into Orion. So we have to educate you guys about Orion as well too.
Yeah,
because
so
we're-
everybody has to adapt.
yes, right.
And you have a portion then of Bloomfield Township.
Half of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I have all of the city of Bloomfield Hills. So
So you have Bloomfield Township, Bloomfield Hills.
half of Auburn Hills
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit of Oakland Township. Oakland Township was divided in 3. And then I have all of Orion Township. So at least they
Okay.
kept Orion in one
Yes.
box, so that was
Yes.
nice. So I'm one of 110.
Okay.
We had 2 years ago, the House lost majority for the first time in decades, and lost majority meaning that the Democrats have the majority, and when you have the majority, you have the gavel, which is the Speaker of the House, which is Joe Tate, Representative Joe Tate, and then they have the gavel in all the different committees. So like the Appropriations Committee, the Transportation Committee, the subcommittees, the leader of the committee is a Democrat.
Okay.
I'm in the minority.
Yes.
And the way that the House is right now, we are at 56, 54. 54 Republicans, 56 Democrats.
That's close.
So close.
Wow. So that could easily flop in November.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then
okay.
so the Senate is 18-20, but they're on a 4-year term, so there is no swapping in this because State House is every 2 years. The Senate is every 4 years, along with the governor is every 4 years.
Okay.
And then you have the federal House of Representatives, and there's 13 districts in Michigan. We used to have 17, but with our population loss, we lose districts as well too. So we have 13 congressional seats in the state of Michigan, and every state has 2 senators.
Okay,
And so,
yep.
so we have 2 senators, of course, it's Debbie Stabenow and Gary Peters. And of course, we have 1 governor. And so that's every 4 years too. And she's term limited along with the Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, and Attorney General Dana Nessel. And she'll be term limited too. So 2 years from now, you'll have a whole new guard.
Right,
And
okay.
new senators as well too. But right now, the House, the Senate, and the executive branch are all Democrat run.
Yes.
And what I've seen and witnessed, because I was in local government for 12 years, 10 years as elected and 2 years as a volunteer, that you need a balance of government for the benefit of the people that live in these districts. Because literally, if we're a 50-50 state and you only listen to one side, that means you're shutting out 50% of your entire state in any voice in Lansing. And that's what I've seen. Most bills that passed in 2 years were completely partisan, meaning 56, 54, 56, 54.
Okay, this is what I wanted to, yes, I wanted to ask you about this. So you are a Republican you're in the minority party.
Correct.
So can you get anything done being in the minority party?
Well, you can get stuff done if you work together
Yes.
But if I have a bill, which I introduced probably 10,
Oh.
they're not even discussed in committee. So
Give
not
us an
even.
example of a bill you introduced.
So I'm on appropriations, which is the budget, which I'm just astounded at the volume of this budget. But it's $82 billion.
I was afraid to ask. So we're talking about the budget for the state of Michigan.
State of Michigan is
Okay.
$82 billion. One thing good about the state of Michigan budget is it has to balance. You don't get to spend more than what you bring in, like the federal government, where it keeps on going into
Oh,
debt and
right,
they have to
okay.
borrow money. Luckily, the state, you have to balance. So $82 billion was spent the first year, and I think $83 billion was spent the next year. And so my bill was to bring more transparency and accountability to the budgeting process, because what ends up happening is that because it's a bill, it is a 1,500-page bill
Okay.
of spending. It's like this.
Yeah.
And
Do you write this bill?
I do not write this bill because I'm in the minority.
Oh, I see. Okay, right, okay.
So,
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Okay.
We would want pieces of it, but
Yes.
we did not get any real pieces of this budget. I mean, it was completely partisan.
What is something you wanted to see in that bill that didn't materialize?
Good question, because I happen to be not only on the appropriations, there's subcommittees, and a subcommittee would be like transportation.
Mm-hmm.
So appropriations for the subcommittee, we spend, of that $82 billion, only $6 billion on all our roads every year. And our roads, everybody, it's a nonpartisan issue, right?
Yes.
The
Roads are
good.
nonpartisan. We all want them fixed.
We all want to fix. Either they're good or they're bad. And
Yeah.
we're like average-ish. And so I wanted more of that. We had COVID money, $9 billion of COVID money. I had asked in my appropriations committee to have more money go to the roads, more for the local roads. I asked it in the first year that I was there for the budget, and I asked for it in the second year, and it was not even considered. Not even. And even if you raise your hand and you offer it, just because even if they agree with it, because I introduced it,
Oh.
it's no. There is not, out of 400 amendments to that appropriation bill coming from the Republican side, not one was considered. So that there is no balance.
Are you saying there's really no nonpartisan legislation being passed in Michigan? It just falls upon party lines?
I had, from what my understanding is that it used to be when you had different balance, where you had the Senate or you had the House, or you had the House and the Senate and the governor.
Mm-hmm.
So if the governor was, so before this 2 years, the governor was a Democrat and she was the sole, and the House and the Senate were Republican. So you have a little bit of a balance.
Yes,
And so
okay.
everybody has to do
Yeah.
a give and take. But when there's like no of the three, no balance, they don't have to give. So if they don't want to put more money for the roads, they don't have to put more money for the roads. So out of all those appropriations requests, none of them were passed. I mean, it was my number, about 300-ish.
Yeah.
But so back to my transparency. So this 1,500-page bill is done behind closed doors.
Okay.
It is negotiated between, so the appropriation base has to be passed by the Senate, the House, and then the governor signs it. So if the House portion of what they think the budget should be doesn't match what the Senate bill, that doesn't match what the executive branch, those three appropriators from each three of those legislation have to sit in a room and discuss a bill. And then the bill comes out last one came out at midnight, literally at midnight, 1,500 pages, trying to see what's in it. You don't
Yeah.
even know what's in it. And it was voted on at 5 a.m.
How do you vote? It can't be in person.
It's on the floor at the House of Representatives.
So everybody goes to the House of Representatives in Lansing?
Yes, we're in Lansing.
Okay.
And then we're voting on the bills put up on the board, literally. And then we vote yes or no on that bill. And then that's how. So here's the bill that's being presented, and it came out of conference committee, and it's at midnight. We're going to vote on it at 5. Who has 5? So
Yeah.
back to my question. I'm
Right.
sorry, it was a long answer.
No, that's okay. We're trying to get some insight into how the state government runs, so this is valuable. I have a question. Because you said that vote was at 5 in the morning.
Yes.
So can I assume that all the state representatives in Michigan show up for
Yes.
every vote?
Most often, unless
Okay.
usually there's some kind
Unless
of
there's
emergency.
some- okay.
But that one, they were there.
Okay.
And so they voted on that bill. So my whole bill was that they can't do that. You can't, that you
I
have to
see.
have that bill on the table for like 7 days.
Right.
And then so the public can see it because it's public money and it's supposed to be done in the open and at these open meetings. That's why you have a chamber where, you have all the, I don't know if you've been to the House,
I
but
haven't.
But they have a chamber where people can sit and watch what's going on, be open to the public. But if you don't even know the bill's going on the board,
Yes.
it's 5 in the morning and you'd only had 4 hours to read it, the public is unaware of what's in that bill. And that's a disservice. And so my bill was to bring that it has to sit out there for 7 days before it can be voted on. But again, my bill, which I think is great because I all about transparency, was not even looked at in committee. It's not even looked at.
What are some other committees out there that
Oh.
that the audience should know about, or that you actually are part of?
Well, I'm a part of capital outlay, which offers money to like universities. That's one of the appropriations.
Oh, okay.
So you have appropriations, which is the big budget, and then you have sub appropriations, and so they divide it up for like state police, transportation, the justice system, and they come up with different budgets in these subcommittees. DHHS, Department of Health and Human Services, and then you have the Education Department, and those are all subcommittees for the appropriations, and then you have policy of the same committees. So I'm also on the DHHS, which is the Health and Human Services Subcommittee budgeting. So that
Is that,
huge.
what does that include?
Medicaid,
Okay, Medicaid, okay.
welfare, food stamps, that type of
Okay,
thing. And so
right.
that budget is $37 billion for the state health of Michigan. And
Is that high or low compared to other states?
I
Do we
think it's
know?
very high.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that what the issue is, people don't have a problem paying for it if they get good service. You'll pay, if somebody dry cleans your clothes and you come in a
Yes.
little bag and everything is nice and clean and they charge you a reasonable price, you're good. But if they charge you an exorbitant price and your shirts come all wrinkled and they burn them, you're like, this is terrible for what I paid.
Right.
That's how I feel the service that we're giving for our health and human services at the state of Michigan.
You're talking about the service that Medicaid provides.
Oh, but the
Or
whole
department,
department,
okay.
yeah. So like, if you need, because it's hard to forge around in it. So if you don't know where you're looking,
Yes.
you are swamped with bureaucracy. And instead of saying, I have this need, how do I plug into the system? You have to say, I have this need, and how do I plug into the system?
The problem with bureaucracy generally, right?
Yes.
Not just the state, but the feds too.
Yes, yes.
It's hard to navigate.
Yes. So those are, so my learning curve from my local safety path to where I am right now has been like, it's been overwhelming, but at the same token, it's been a blessing because look at all I get to learn and all the nice people that I meet.
Well, let's talk about, so you're running for reelection
Yes,
in
ma'am.
November. What would you like to see get done in the House of Representatives next term?
Road funding.
Yeah.
Infrastructure is aging in Michigan. We're an older state. We have to pay attention to it. And it's not fun and sexy, but we need to do that.
Infrastructure means bridges, tunnels, these kind of
Yes,
things?
waterways. We have overflowing city basins in Oakland County to where it's overflowing in the Red Run Drain and it's going right into Lake St. Clair. So
Oh, wow, okay.
everybody poop in the lake should be a nonpartisan issue and everybody.
Please let it be nonpartisan. Nobody wants that in the lakes.
No, let's be environmentally friendly to our waterways. And so that definitely, and this transparency in the budgeting is paramount to making sure that we run more efficiently. So, and in our safety of our community. I mean, we're having these break-ins in Bloomfield. We should be safe for the amount of money, again, that we spend. We should be safe in our houses and not fearful that we're going to have break-ins in our basement from Chilean immigrants that are coming in. I don't know if you heard all that was.
No, I know. I live here, so
yeah.
In fact, we had the captain of the Bloomfield Hills Police Department on not long ago about the transnational gangs. Can you give us any insight into what's happening? What's the progress with this?
I'm glad that they're working together with Oakland County and Bloomfield, and I think that they continually will do that. I think that we will get that under control, but we have to do something at the federal level that monitors the visas of these people to begin with more fervently.
Yes,
So,
but to be fair, crime, I mean, I know crime has become a partisan issue, but it shouldn't be. I mean,
Agreed.
we all should want to be safe in our communities, whether the perpetrators are people sneaking in over the border or born and bred individuals from the state of Michigan. I mean, I feel, and I was a federal prosecutor for 20 years, and now I'm a criminal defense attorney, but I just feel like we should all agree that our streets should be safe from whoever the perpetrator is.
right, yeah, teenage kids opening and taking your purse out of an
Yes,
unlocked car. That
please. I
happens.
mean, somebody do something about this. Exactly right. Or yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then our education. And again,
Yes. Well, education. Doesn't it all begin with education?
yes.
Yeah.
And so if we make sure that the resources are going to the right spots,
Yes.
not administration, not partisan issues, but to the teachers and the kids in the classrooms to make sure that they're good citizens, that they can take care of us. We're not going
Yes.
to be, we need our kids to do well, so moms are taken care of, right?
Yes. Well, Donni, you have obviously a very strong public service background, and I'm happy to make your acquaintance. I'm happy that you came to the show. We want to know who our state reps are, and we'll be looking for you on the ballot in November. And
Thank
I
you.
hope, we've educated the audience, and they'll make their informed decision. But a very intelligent woman in public office, I'm always happy to host.
Thank you.
So
Thank
please
you.
come back.
Thank you. Nice
Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Thank
nice,
you.
nice.
And viewers, thank you for tuning in to AP on Play this morning.